At it again, and you know Trump is winning when Democrats start to cry like this. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. And let's dive in.
What, in your view, would happen if he were to be reelected?
Oh, I can't even think that, because I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing. And I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals during the campaign. But I immediately said, look, we have to give him a chance. We've got to support, you know, the president we have. And I meant it. And I tried really hard. And then literally from his inauguration on, it was nothing but, you know, accusing people of things, making up facts, denying the size of the crowd at his own inauguration. And everything that I worried about, I saw unfolding. And so I think that he'd be even worse now because he was somewhat restrained, believe it or not, in the first term by people who he hired because he thought they would go along with him, and they stood up to him. And so now he is going to, if he were ever near the Oval Office again, find people who have no principles, no conscience, who are totally tied, you know, to his fortunes, literally, and therefore would do whatever he said. And so the wreckage is almost unimaginable. You know, when I was Secretary of State, I used to talk about one and done. And what I meant by that is that people would get legitimately elected, and then they would try to do away with elections and do away with opposition and do away with a free press. And you could see it in...
Just like the Democrats are doing now. But okay.
Countries where, well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Right? And so all of a sudden, somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies, would be like, oh, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail. And they didn't usually telegraph that. Trump is telling us what he intends to do.
We need to listen to
Take him at his word.
Oh, yeah. And you guys are actually doing it currently. But you know Trump is winning when he's come out and cry like that, because also MSNBC did the same thing because, you know, you got stuff like this happening.
Here it is. Wow. Donald Trump, we have at 46%, Biden, 44%.
And this is significant because this is the first time in the history of our poll that former President Trump beats President Biden, still within the margin of error, but still significant.
Yeah, it's 2019, 2020, when Trump was president, he trailed all of them. This year, he's trailed all of them in our poll. First time in more than a dozen polls we've seen a result like this. Some of the other ingredients that go into that: Biden has long had an advantage over Trump on likability. Look, at the start of this year, 39% said they had a positive view of Biden, barely 30% of Trump. We've seen consistently a gap like this. Now, the gap is gone. 36 positive on both, and actually Biden 1 point more negative than Trump. That's been a significant advantage for Biden. Our poll says that advantage, at least for now, may be gone. And we talked about younger voters on foreign policy, and it's true on a host of other topics. Disaffected with Joe Biden. We have 46% for Trump, 42% for Biden among the youngest voters. The youngest voters in the 2020 election were Biden plus 26. This could be a massive sea change. And if you take a look here, too, everybody sort of says, hey, I'm not too nuts about the possibility of this matchup. So we said, let's measure this one way. And here's how we did it. Biden against an unnamed Republican. This is just a referendum on Biden, basically. And look at this. He goes from being in a dogfight with Trump to being double digits behind. But then flip it around. Trump against an unnamed Democrat. Trump goes from leading against Biden to being down by 6 points against the Democrat.
This also shows that Trump has a huge floor, a really, really high floor that he won't drop below. But, you know, I want to talk to you about, or show you, this MSNBC clip where they just go into, you know Trump is winning with this kind of language. Check it out.
Trump
warning about the threat from within. In actuality, he's the leader of the actual threat, the real threat coming from within. I know I do not need to convince you of that, but we heard Christopher Wray said that domestic violent extremism, biggest threat to the homeland. The latest DHS terrorism warning bulletin from May saying in the coming months, factors that could mobilize individuals to commit violence include their perceptions of the 2024 general election cycle and legislative or judicial decisions pertaining to socio-political issues. He is the one stoking fear. He is the one stoking violence around this country. I don't know, Claire, if it is irony or audacity that he would talk about the threat from within.
Well, it's a little of both. But let me even bring in what I think is also a very dangerous thread to this conversation. Please. A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler and the use of the terminology like vermin and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy he believes in. He is not trying to expand the boundaries of the United States of America. He's not trying to overcome a neighboring country like Putin is in Ukraine. He is not going for some grandiose scheme of international dominance. All he wants is to look in the mirror and see a guy who's president. All he cares about is selfish self-promotion. That's the only philosophy he has, which makes him even more dangerous because he has actually said out loud that it would be okay to terminate the Constitution to keep him in power. He said this. He actually said those words. And the irony is all of these supposed conservative folks that have populated the Republican Party all stood around and with their thumb in their mouth going, well, yeah, okay, I guess so. It's bizarre.
Oh, Trump bad. Oh, Trump. Oh my goodness. Scary boogeyman. Those conservatives, man. I don't get them. Meanwhile, you got Democrats looting, burning, and pillaging cities, and oh no, they're peaceful. Republicans are more violent. Okay. But hey, that's how you know Trump is winning, man, when they start making some wild claims and statements. What a time to be alive, right? What a time to be alive. This is, you couldn't script this. You literally couldn't. Oh, Trump, oh my goodness, Trump is winning, so we gotta start villain, we gotta make him a villain, Trump polls, look.
Those show Trump leading nationally. Let's take a closer look.
You know what, they're too big to ignore, and the margin, obviously it's in the margin of error. Nothing's insurmountable a year out.
Yeah, so if the election were held today, it's showing that Joe Biden would only get 44%, but Donald Trump is still at 46%, right. Brian. This is a drop from that 51%, and that's NBC.
NBC, he's never been leading in the NBC poll, and we'll break it down. You'll see the battleground states. Among voters 18 to 34, usually bad news for a Republican nominee, even if it's younger than Donald Trump. Not bad news right now, and that has a lot to do with this Israeli-Hamas war. The president's on the right side of this, but a third of his party is for the Palestinian Hamas cause, which is more than a little scary. Remember what happened at the DNC headquarters a couple of days ago? They hurt 6 cops raiding the DNC headquarters full of Democrats, and these are left-wing Democrats attacking Democrats, hurting police officers.
So, Brian, as you said, it's the war, but it's also being let down when it comes to the student loans. He said he was going to forgive them. He went through the process. It was illegal. The Supreme Court said you can't do that. Voters are holding him accountable.
And by the way, the student loan thing is a big farce because you alienate a ton of people who got into the trades or paid off their loans or went a different direction. Why are you paying off other people's loans in just one age bracket? This is the key. Independence. It's the only portion of the electorate that keeps growing. Independence. And look at this.
Only 30%.
Disapproval, 63%. All right.
This is why they're making all of these wild and crazy statements. That's why, in my humble opinion. Because they've just gotten worse recently. They've always made wild and crazy statements. But now they're just saying them all over the place. It seems like on a daily basis at this point. comparing Trump to some of these horrible individuals, you know. And I'm happy to see the American people aren't buying it. So it's in reality, it's only making them look worse. Especially when you want to talk about mainstream media, it's only making them look worse. People didn't trust them or believe them, or that was declining already. And now that they're just making up stuff, you know, it's just going to tank even further. Like, they're just digging a deeper hole at this point. So as far as I'm concerned, they can keep on digging. You know, we'll just stand here and watch them and laugh at them. And I'll make a couple of videos on it from time to time. But yeah, Trump 2024, baby. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.